Where in the world did I find one of the most famous old automobiles with ties to old Reno? We're talking about the 1949 Harold's Club Roaring Camp Buick, which was adorned with real silver dollars and hand-tooled leather and a set of bullhorns over the windshield. And this vehicle was used across the country to help market Harold's Club. And a number of years ago, this vehicle kind of fell off the radar, and a lot of local people wondered what the heck happened to it. So this episode is the story of the old Roaring Camp, its colorful owner, and one of the most fantastic gun and firearm and Western memorabilia collections in the United States, and a 1949 Buick Super 8. Today I'm at a location above Lake Street, which used to house the location of Stagg's Roaring Camp down there behind me. And today this is just a vacant lot, but back in 1946, a gentleman named Raymond Stagg opened a one-of-a-kind business down there. In the years prior to World War II, Raymond Stagg slowly accumulated a staggering collection of Western firearms and memorabilia, and maybe people described it as the finest, probably the finest collection of such things in the United States. You couldn't miss Stagg's Roaring Camp on Lake Street. All one had to do was look for what they claimed was a 1848 Prairie Schooner wagon parked out front on the sidewalk. And once going in, one could smell what was said to be the best Mexican food in Reno, made by Ramona, who was a local favorite. You'd walk up to the bar that had actual horse saddles for seating, and then you could just marvel at it all. 2,000 guns on display, which included the personal collection of silent movie star Tom Mix. There were other wagons, old wagons displayed inside, mechanical pianos, organs, and jukeboxes, and hundreds of items related to life in the Old West. This was before my time, but by all accounts, this was very impressive. Unfortunately, Mr. Stagg's business only lasted about 3 years. He had gaming in the Roaring Camp on a small scale, and he had trouble finding honest people to lease the gaming operation to. One set of concessionaires ran a crooked horse race game, and they were kicked out. And then in 1947, a dealer was accused of dealing marked cards in a 21 game. And he was eventually cleared, and it was proved that this was the work of a disgruntled customer. And then in 1948, the gaming control people came in, and they found that several of his slot machines were rigged so that they would never pay a jackpot. So Mr. Stagg was arrested, and he had to look forward to clearing his name in court, which he did. And it should be underlined that people that Raymond Stagg trusted were guilty of all these infractions, and not him. But by this time, Raymond Stagg had had enough and probably had his license revoked. And in 1949, it was announced that he was selling out. The buyer was Raymond I. Pappy Smith of Harold's Club. You might remember the bust of Pappy at the Riverwalk downtown that is named for him. The selling price was $300,000, and it included the business as well as the entire collection of guns and memorabilia. The Smith family ran the Roaring Camp at the same location for a few months, as is in 1949, then closed it later that year. All right, I'm filming this on Labor Day weekend, and it's kind of quiet in downtown Reno. I guess the rest of the world is at Burning Man or the Nugget Rib Cook-Off in Sparks. You can't have a complete discussion of all the famous features of old Reno without talking about the Harold's Club gun collection. This gun collection came over from Stagg's Roaring Camp. And the Smiths had the whole collection moved over to Harold's Club, and they displayed it in a room appropriately titled the Roaring Camp Room. And the 2,000 guns and everything else that comprised that crazy collection was too much for the space that Harold's Club had, so they displayed most of it and rotated it around, and they had a curator to manage all of it.
Millions of Reno's visitors are familiar with the remarkable gun and weapon collection in Harold's Club Roaring Camp Museum. Experts acknowledge it as one of the world's finest displays of ancient American firearms. Thousands of tourists visit this interesting museum daily and are shown through it by the curator, Frank Brabant. who gives a brief history of the more famous gun. Many kinds of weapons from all over the world are in this collection, as well as those once owned by Jesse James, Buffalo Bill, and Wild Bill Hickok. This collection is worth over $1 million. For instance, here is one of the most valuable weapons in the world, a gun made especially for the President of Mexico and presented to him by the President of France. It is made of hand-carved ebony and hand-engraved steel. Not only guns, but old music boxes and many other fascinating relics of the old mining camps can be seen in the $1 million collection in Harold's Club Museum. Don't miss seeing the Roaring Camp Museum and Harold's Club on your next trip to Reno.
This collection was world-renowned and fondly remembered by locals and visitors. I remember seeing some of it myself after I transplanted myself to Reno in 1986. But unfortunately, the collection was sold off to an auction house in 1993, and 30 years ago from the date of this filming, in 1994, the entire collection was auctioned off to the four winds. And just like when the majority of Bill Harrah's auto collection was auctioned off, a little bit of old Reno died on those days. So what happened to Raymond Stagg? He ended up entering into a contract with Pappy Smith to become a full-time promoter of Harold's Club. He ended up traveling around the country, appearing like a mountain man or Buffalo Bill in a buckskin outfit and sporting his long gray hair. He was paid $15,000 a year on a 10-year contract, and he was provided a unique set of wheels, an old truck outfitted to appear like a covered wagon, and he toured around the country many times with his wife Zelda. His job was to talk up Harold's Club, and he made many stops in California in 1949 for that state's centennial of the events of 1849. Also delivered to Harold's Club at this time was a 1949 Buick Super 8 Woody wagon. To help celebrate the opening of the Roaring Camp Room, Pappy Smith contracted with a Buick dealer in the Bay Area to have it decked out like no other. For $3,500, the dealer in San Francisco attached 386 silver dollars to the body, each in a little setting that made it harder but not impossible to pry off. The dates represented every date minted since 1876. 386 silver dollars. There was also hand-tooled leather embellishments surrounding the entire vehicle, sporting the name of Roaring Camp. A silver horse was placed where the radiator cap was, and to top it all off, a shiny pair of steer horns mounted to the front above the windshield. This car was promotional and marketing genius, something that Harold's Club was widely known for. Raymond Stagg himself picked up the car in San Francisco, and according to a newspaper story at the time, the gentleman that did the decor job said, Mr. Stagg was in a great hurry for the vehicle as he plans to tour the United States of America and let everyone know that the state of Nevada is still in the Union and that Harold's Club is the foundation of the state. So Raymond Stagg spent those next several years touring around the country and promoting Harold's Club. And there are several historic photographs of those touring vehicles parked in front of Harold's Club right behind me here at the old location on Virginia Street. And later, Mr. Stagg retired to the San Francisco Bay Area, and his obituary notes that he passed away in February of 1971 in Mountain View, California, and he was 85 years old. But the question remains, what happened to that super cool 1949 Buick? Several years ago, when I was researching my documentary on Harold's Club, I was asking myself this question. The National Automobile Museum here in Reno didn't have it, and I scoured the internet at that time with no luck. I even sent off inquiries to car clubs and publications asking if they knew anything, and I was almost ready to give up on that quest when one day I got an email from my brother who said that he saw an article in some obscure truck magazine that stated that the Harold's Club Buick was in Napa Valley, California, at a winery. Well, that was curious, so I did some more scratching around and found the winery where it was supposed to be. And I contacted them and I told them I was a documentary filmmaker doing a story on Harold's Club. And if you indeed have this car, I would certainly love to just come and see it. I spoke with Greg Martin, the owner of the Martin Estate Winery, and he invited me down to Napa Valley. And there it was, looking like showroom condition the day it rolled out of that San Francisco dealer in 1949. All the silver dollars, all the leather, the horns, all there. The winery and this car are not open to the general public, so I'm sharing these images in what might be your only chance to see this. Mr. Martin said that he occasionally takes it into town and he appreciates the oohs and ahs. We and the staff tried to get it started, but unfortunately, it wasn't going to start up on this day, which was a bummer because I had hoped to be able to maybe drive it around the grounds. But I was able to sit in it and spend some quality time doing my own oohs and ahs. So the Harold's Club Roaring Camp Buick is in good hands. All right, thanks for watching today. I sure appreciate it. It was a pleasure for me to do a story that involves Harold's Club. I've been a fan for many years. I did that documentary film, and it was just great to share that little ancillary story of the Roaring Camp as well. And I'll leave the link to the eBay auction for my eBay store where you can pick up that Harold's Club documentary DVD if you'd like to get it. And today we're finishing up this episode at Prost Biergarten here in Reno in the Old Town Mall area, and this is a great place to come get a fine German beer. And today I'm enjoying a Weihenstephaner Dunkel, although the beer says Anger. Weihenstephaner Dunkel, a great German beer, and it's going to be super tasty on this hot Reno day. And I didn't ask the owner of the Harold's Club car what's ultimately going to happen to it, when the day comes. I'm just hoping that when they're ready and the day does arrive, that provisions will be made to have that go to the National Automobile Museum. Wouldn't that be great? Have it back in Reno for the Reno community and visitors to enjoy in perpetuity. I don't know if that's their plans, but I'd be more than happy to suggest that to them. Well, that is all I have for you today. And as Harold S. Smith Sr. of Harold's Club always said, I'm with you. Cheers.